Holy and most gracious Father in heaven, I am so thankful for this opportunity and for the privilege and gift of these meetings and gatherings. We don't take them for granted. Bless us. Let your word with spirit and life. It's our prayer by faith in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you, Sister Eva, for inviting me again. I was here and trying to set stuff out because it's long since I was here because of the up and down, and also trying to spend time with my parents for part of the December after the meetings. So it's really a great privilege to start over with this beautiful team from the Scandinavian part of the world and United States of America, wherever you come from. I want to welcome you all at this beautiful moment. I want you to feel free to ask questions, to interject with positive interaction, or rather comments, as the Lord will lead you. And I don't want you to feel like I have to finish and then you get in, because I want us to learn. And I'm basically sharing that thing which I have studied and that thing which I have experienced. So this information that I am giving, I am not giving it from a medical professional line, but I am giving this information because I have studied it independently. I have done my own research and tested it and proved that what I am sharing with you, to my knowledge, is true. And you can also do your own private investigation and research and see if these things are so. And what we want to talk about is the hidden secret in this colorless liquid, DMSO. It has been in existence for a very long period of time. A natural product extracted from tree in the tree processing farms or factories that has been of great use in medical field for a very long time, and yet hidden from the knowledge of many people. Of course, I know, and you can bear me witness, that DMSO, dimethyl sulfur oxide, has been used widely in the veterinary field. And I'm beginning to become surprised that actually the veterinary field still is more open to understanding some of the old remedies that were very effective. For example, you realize that the veterinary, they still do trust blackstrap molasses as a source of iron for animals. The veterinary trust the use of Epsom salts in animals for various uses. Veterinary people trust the use of Zaddoch in horses for detoxification and curing of cancer. The veterinary lines trust the use of DMSO to cure horses and dogs and all these things. And looking at this from another perspective, it sounds to me like the vets are better doctors. They understand best what the animals need, apart from the new developments that are coming in that are trying to zero in huge production. And so because of huge production of milk and huge production of beef and mutton and pork and all these things, there are injections that have been brought in that is trying to infiltrate also into the veterinary field. But the background is that the veterinary world is still deep into the old remedies that were very successful in helping animals. And I have seen it from my home. I've seen my parents use it. I have seen even veterinary doctors ask people to do those things that look archaic and old school. When you're talking about DMSO, we'll see that it's something that is pretty old and has been used and proved. And that's what I want us to go. I'll share with you my slide if they are able to make me a host here. Yeah, sure enough. So there we go. And what we have here is basically DMSO, and their glasses there are put there, and they're filled with this colorless liquid. And this liquid, dimethyl sulfur oxide, is the hidden secret of healing. All right. I'll put a disclaimer here for those of us who might watch this later on YouTube or wherever you might want to watch it. And this is the thing. The information provided in this presentation is for general information purposes only. The information is not for medical health advice. The medical health or health information is provided for general informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional healthcare advice. Accordingly, before taking any actions based on such information as given here, we would encourage you to consult with the appropriate professional or your physician. We do not provide any kind of medical or health advice. The use or reliance of any of this information contained on this presentation is at your own risk. And we are putting this because of the standards that are needed, and we want many people as much as possible to be able to listen to this message on YouTube. You see, is DMSO something that is synthetic? Is it something that is dangerous, or is it something that is naturally extracted? This slide answers that question. That it is a natural chemical compound derived from the trees. You see, when you read the Bible in Deuteronomy, when the Israelites were going into Canaan, God gave them direction. Deuteronomy chapter 19, and the Bible says that when you get into that land, do not cut the trees. Why? God didn't want them to deforest. God didn't want them to destroy that vegetation. And this is what the Bible says. For the trees in that land are going to be for the healing, for service. In other words, God understood the benefit of trees. And sometimes people do not understand the benefit for trees apart from understanding their relationship to the environment. And when people are being taught about climate change, quote unquote, they are all told to plant trees because we want rain. But we forget the beneficial elements that vegetation bring into the ecosystem, which includes fresh air that is therapeutic, which also includes the healing power that comes from the extracts that we receive from these trees. It's a natural compound derived from trees as a byproduct from manufacturing of paper. It is composed of two methyl groups, and we look at this. The methyl groups are very important for you and for me because they are key in the making of genes. And sulfur and oxygen atom. And so when you look at the methyl groups, which if you are depleted of methyl groups, then you have a transformation or a restructuring of your genes, then it means that if people today are experiencing modification of genes, then probably it's because of depletion of methyl groups in their body. If we are looking at a generation that is having low immunity, then I think we are having low immunity because our methyls have gone low, our sulfur is gone low. A wonderfully simply yet powerful organic booster for the immune system. And why? Sulfur, a very important product when naturally used, not synthetic chemicals that are manufactured in the laboratory, naturally extracted. So dimethyl sulfur oxide, DMSO, has been described by its supporters, nearly everyone who has ever used it, as a true medical miracle. It has been used in the treatment of hundreds of ailments that afflict people throughout the world, in fact, by itself or in combination with other medications. DMSO has proven useful in the treatment of practically every medical problem that has ever been known. I've personally used DMSO, and I'll be able to share if time will find. the success of using DMSO with certain conditions, topically especially, and also internally. The importance of these methyl groups that are found in DMSO. What are the importance? Did you ever wonder why all of a sudden some develop a neurodegenerative disorder, heart disease, an autoimmune condition, or even cancer? Did it just drop down out of the sky and land on their head? No, they are expressed as bad genes. How do you express bad genes like autoimmune, multiple sclerosis, ALS, Parkinson's, heart disease, or cancer? The answer is depleted methyl groups. And the depletion of your methyl group in your body will definitely, if not taken care of, lead to disease. It will definitely lead to disease. And by consuming, how our methyl groups actually depleted in the body? Because we need to understand the diet, the environment that we live in, an environment that is full of dirt, smoke, environments that are full of chemicals that we breathe into the body. By consuming a poor diet loaded with white sugar, white flour, white salt, bad oils, trans fatty acids, and hydrogenated oils produced loaded with chemicals and herbicides, junk food, drinks loaded with caffeine, high fructose corn syrup and acid, genetically modified foods, and even stress. And sometimes you're stressed just because of the environment that you are living in. An environment where vehicles are hooting every now and then. I don't know about your countries, but it's crazy. The towns in Kenya, in Africa are crazy because people hoot without even following the laws. Because even the government is trying to put laws to regulate, and I mean, too much of this noise that causes unnecessary stress, even when people are just walking. And all these things lead to depletion of the methyl group. And methyl groups are very important, even in the formation of hydrochloric acid, which also forms one of the first lines of defense of anything that accesses the body. What helps to create methyl groups? And you can see, number one, I mean, I wasn't well, and I spoke to a doctor friend of mine, and he told me, contrary to what many people believe, and what is this common belief? This common belief is, you know what? You have low acid, or rather high acid. It's not always the case. The probable case is you have low acid. And when you have low acid, then your methyl groups go low. And this is what people don't understand, and they pump themselves with antacids, and they are receiving no relief at all. And antacid after antacid, and proton inhibitors, and all these things. And this lowers your immunity, lowers your methyl groups, and exposes you to danger of being attacked by various conditions that would have been avoided. Hydrochloric acid, or the stomach acid, is one of the ways by which you improve your methyl groups. This is why it is vital for everyone to have the proper amount of hydrochloric acid. You need it. You need the proper amount of hydrochloric acid. It's very important for you to have a proper amount of hydrochloric acid. Well, we create massive amount of hydrochloric acid when we are young, but as we age, we make less and less. Again, further decrease in stomach acid, or HCl, are caused by excess of stress and poor diet. What we eat can lead to either high or low hydrochloric acid, and in essence, can either lower or increase the methyl groups. Methyl groups are vital for the formation of cell replication. At the level of the DNA, they literally turn genes on or they turn genes off. So let's just pause there and think about these things. Let's just pause there and think about these things. That we are here and we are looking at the whole concept of DMSO, and we are realizing that DMSO supplies methyl groups, and when your acids are lowered, your methyl groups go low, and they are depleted from the body by what we eat, then your genes are literally turned off because you don't have methyl groups, and so we have a remodification of our genes. So then, in a world where people don't eat right, in a world where people don't breathe the right thing, in a world where people are not exposed to the right environment, you always need to take something to supplement the replication of your cells at the very finer details, and that is at the DNA point. All right, I don't know if you are still able to see my screen.
Yes, we are.
All right. Okay. So there is this DMSO handbook that I would wish or I could later share with Sister Eva. And this handbook is for doctors. And it will help you. And why? Because we cannot go into studying every dosage and everything that you need to do for every single condition. But the DMSO handbook for doctors gives you the finer details for the specific conditions. But we look at some of the things that will probably help us to understand better and to excite us to go and read more onto what can be able to be the solution to our specific condition. So there are many people who have provided information and encouragement to the author over the years that has been involved in research and investigation of DMSO. Stanley Jacob, MD, the father of DMSO, and his mentor provided a much early information on DMSO and was the person most responsible for getting Archie Scott interested in DMSO and medical research and treatment in general using DMSO. It's a wonderful book that you want to read when you're talking about DMSO. Dimethyl sulfur oxide was brought into the stream of alternate therapies or alternative therapies as a result of research conducted primarily by Dr. Stanley Jacob during his tenure with the organ transplant at Oregon Health Science University in Portland during the 1960s. It was discovered by a medical researcher in the 1800s, but unfortunately, it remains one of the least understood treatment methodologies of the modern era. Least understood, and no one cares about what would have helped many people. And perhaps also one of the least distributed alternative liquids that can be able to help to cure diseases. DMSO is something that I would call a must-have emergency kit. And that is what this book is designed for. This book is designed that you have it in your laptop, in your kitchen as a hard copy, of course, alongside the DMS. And this volume is designed to be of benefit to clinicians, research, and ultimate consumer. It contains references necessary to satisfy the medical profession and technical information, so the practicing physician can administer DMSO to his patient. Every emergency room, listen to what he says, every emergency room should have this book in order to save lives from a wide variety of medical conditions. The use of DMSO in what? Veterinarian medicine is well known and accepted. It is accepted for use in animals. It is time for human medicine to adopt its near miraculous benefits without the negative effect associated with toxic and potential fatal pharmaceutical products. And I would want to play for us. I don't know if this will work. Let me just see. I want to play for us this video, and I hope that the sound will be good from your end. If it's not, please, ever you can just let me know. But I want you to listen to the testimony of this woman who was sick for years and how the medical fraternity was unable to help us. And this doctor comes with this idea to use DMSO and the experience from our very lips. Listen.
Four hours later, there was no real improvement. Besides, she had become nauseous from the treatment. No. Do you have any more mobility or about the same mobility?
I think about the same.
By the third day, she was feeling a little better. You began to see it in her face.
Well, I didn't have to take any more medicine.
How long has it been since you haven't had to take medicine?
Over 2 years.
Before she left for home, Dr. Jacob showed her where and how to apply DMSO topically to her neck and back. Now, when you put it on, don't rub it too hard. You just have to apply it to the skin, and it goes in. Let it dry over 20 minutes to a half an hour. It won't be totally dry, but anything left, you could just wipe off. That was last November. This is Sandy Sherrick 2 months later back at her Riverside, California home.
Oh, the pain's gone. The pain is totally, completely gone from my neck.
You're serious?
I'm telling the truth, the honest to God truth.
You can do anything? Can you do housework?
Yeah, I can.
Drive a car?
Yes.
Lift stuff?
I have not found anything I can't do.
We asked Dr. Jacob to come on down and take another look at you and to talk to you and us together. Okay?
Okay.
Now, could you bend your head to the left side? Any discomfort?
None.
Okay, how about to the right side? Any discomfort?
No.
Sandy, if you had done this 3 months ago, 4 months ago, what would have happened?
I would have been in pain. You wouldn't have been able to touch me.
A woman has been in pain for 2 years and has an injection of or topical application of DMSO, and suddenly a miracle happens. When a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons has been using it off and on for years and says, I swear, but I'm telling you, my arm is better. I throw faster, straighter, better. When you get testimonial after testimonial, I ask you, what's wrong with those testimonials?
Nothing's wrong with them. They may be right, but they don't get they don't provide the scientific evidence that's necessary for acceptance by scientists.
It's not just the FDA that's skeptical, not just the medical establishment. The drug companies don't have much enthusiasm for DMSO either. Why? Jacob and others say it's because DMSO is a common chemical solvent that can be manufactured for $4 a quart, on which no drug company can get an exclusive patent. Therefore, there is no big financial return available. Did an executive of a major drug company really tell you, Dr. Jacob, I don't care if DMSO is the major drug of our century, and we all know it isn't worth it to us?
I was told that if DMSO were approved, it would be competitive, and they didn't hold the patents. Yes, I was told that.
And you will not tell us?
I would not tell you the name of the drug company or the individual. Well, the only question I will not answer. I'll answer any other question.
I think it's a fact of life that drug companies are not going to invest in something unless they think there's some financial return.
But we come back to the main reason for the FDA's objection to DMSO. The story like Sandy Sherrick's doesn't take the place of a scientific test.
Well, that's fine. I can understand their feeling, but they've got to be able to look at the test results and take me as an individual. I have no reason to say it does work or it doesn't. All I can say is what it's done for me personally. It worked for me.
2 footnotes. DMSO is now available for treatment of assorted ailments in Western Europe, the Soviet Union, Japan, and Latin America. And tomorrow morning in Washington, the House Committee on Aging begins an inquiry into why DMSO is not available to all Americans for any appropriate ailment, including plain and simple pain.
Are you
Amen.
able to hear me? Praise the Lord. You've heard it from doctors, and you have seen it from an experience of that woman. She's had pain for 2 years and used all kinds of pharmaceutical drugs. No changes. And upon use of DMSO, in just days, she's able to go about her duties. One of the most known pain relievers is DMSO. One of the most known pain relievers is DMSO. Well, in this book, and there is a picture of a DMSO bottle there. I didn't carry my gallon, but I have one. A bottle of DMSO should be in the locker room of every athletic facility and first aid kit of every athletic coach and trainer. What does that mean? It works like magic for inflammation and for simple injuries. This book should be included with a bottle of DMSO. This book is also written so that non-professionals can read it and benefit from the safe and effective properties of DMSO. It is organized in a logical format to make it easy to use. And so it's a reference book that you can be able to easily use. DMSO, and this is what we look at, and then I'll open the field for us, the floor for us to talk. Listen, DMSO is a fast pain relief medication. Here are 3 effective home remedies to get fast pain relief for toothache. Treat the pain effectively without problems. Using all the 3 makes for a super effective toothache remedy. Remember, it freezes, becomes solid at 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. Just pop the bottle in a bowl of hot water, return it back into liquid. Have clean hands and apply to the tooth, gum around the tooth or the jawline. DMSO is a wonderful stuff. And what I would say is, and my wife has had very serious toothache. And among the things that we have had to use, the UT therapy, the garlic, the clove, all these essential oils, the turmeric, we also used among them the DMSO. And I have come to realize that sometimes you wait until the pain strikes. But now I know that if you want to handle tooth pains with DMSO, it is better to once in a while clean your teeth with DMSO, like brushing it. And why is that? Because it will kill the bacteria and it will ensure that there are no living bacteria in your teeth. And this you can do with about 50% DMSO rather than wait until the pains come. And so if you're having dental caries, if you're having any inflammation of the teeth, of the gums, and so on, it is more profitable to once in a while brush with DMSO. Not always, but once in a while, so that it can keep your teeth clean and also supply the regeneration of the gums and also cure the pain. It's important. But if it's an emergency, then you can actually, with clean hands, apply. Perhaps with clean hands in a cotton, you can apply it on the tooth. Because remember, if you also use like 99.9598% DMSO, that's very hot and it burns. And that if you apply it on the gum, then your gum will be inflamed. So you want to use something that is mild enough and just put it with a cotton wool on the area of the teeth that has the pain. And it should be helpful for your pain. And not only for the pain of the tooth, but you'll find out that actually what happens is DMSO can also be used for sprains. DMSO can be used for pains in the back, pains in the joints, pains in different places, and can also be used alongside other pain relievers like turmeric by mixing it with turmeric, and it will be able to carry the curcumin in the turmeric through the skin barrier to the joints that need the pain relieved from. And we all know that, for example, curcumin from turmeric and ginger also are very potent for people who are arthritic. And so sometimes when you're doing poultices for people with arthritis, you want to mix these things together so that the DMSO can carry the benefits of turmeric and ginger through the skin. And these three put together will bring a more elaborate result. This has been debatable. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure with that slide you were just on, and you say that the three together treat the pain effectively and without problems. Using all three makes for a super effective toothache home remedies. The three aren't listed, but are you saying it's the turmeric and the ginger and DMSO make the three?
The turmeric and the ginger makes the three for any joint. When you talk about the tooth, you want to use the turmeric, very powerful, and you want to use the clove powder.
Oh.
Oh, yes. If you don't have the clove powder, you can just use the clove oil, but just be sure that it's a pure clove oil, and that will be good enough for your teeth.
Okay, and one more thing.
Go ahead.
So would you be using a toothbrush to brush this onto the teeth? Because I'm familiar with DMSO. I'm a licensed veterinary technician, and I do see it used in animals, but I've also used it on myself. But I found that it will carry what you use to apply it with. So I've been trying to just use things like ceramic or wood, not plastic. So would a toothbrush be okay? Because those bristles, aren't they plastic? Or is it rubber?
DMSO, you want to use something that is natural or a glass to handle it.
Yes.
Wood. You don't want to use anything that will be toxic to the body. And why? Because it will carry it and it will poison your body. So that's why I talked about pure cotton. If you're using pure cotton, then all you need to do is just rub your teeth through with the pure cotton, which has been soaked in the DMSO. And when you do that, the DMSO will find its way and kill whatever it finds in between the teeth.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So plastic is not good even for keeping DMSO. Though the thing is, in the United States of America, and I've ever shipped DMSO from the United States of America, some of the companies do pack theirs in plastic gallons. And that might not be the best. If you could find them in dark glasses, I mean, that would be the best.
Yes, ideal. I found it, and it's not cheap. but I do prefer it in the glass because I understand that as well. Thank you so much for explaining that.
Great. God bless. Now, I also wanted to mention that this has been very controversial because what the medical system has been saying about DMSO and why it needs not to be used is it's quote unquote, they say side effect that it can lead to damage of your sight. And this has been a great point of controversy. But eye problems, even though DMSO had been temporarily banned and all research was stopped in the 1960s because of the possible toxicities of the eyes of dogs and rabbits, DMSO has since not only been proven to be non-toxic to the eyes of humans, it is used directly in the eye to reverse conditions that could otherwise lead to blindness. Some of the most dramatic vision improvements with the use of DMSO has occurred in the treatment of retinitis, which is basically that inflammation, pigmentosa. Retinitis pigmentosa is a leading cause of blindness. The DMSO, and because we talked about it being highly anti-inflammatory, treatment is simple and effective. One of the first doctors to use DMSO in the eye was Dr. Robert Hill of Longview, Washington. His early studies were reported in January 1975 Annals of the New York Academy of Science. One early patient with retinitis pigmentosa could see only hand motions with his right eye and had 20/200 vision in his left eye. Treatment, which consisted of 50% DMSO by eye cap twice daily, was started on February 10th, 1972. 5 days later, the patient's vision improved to 20/70 in the left eye. And of course, this is in Archie H. Scott's book, The DMSO Handbook for Doctors. It's important that you have this handbook also to understand the percentages that you need to use. What percentage of DMSO do you need to use when you are handling the eye, when you are handling the teeth, when you are handling the spinal cord? Because this will heavily help you to be sure about what you are doing for the specific condition that you're handling. I mean, the body might not be different, but these guidelines will help you not to use a higher concentration for something that you'd have used a lower concentration for. Just as I've told you, sometimes most of the DMSO that we buy, pharma grade DMSO, 99.98 to 95% DMSO. They could be too harsh sometimes for the skin or too harsh for certain for the eye. You need to understand the exact protocol for the particular condition that you are handling. And that's why I still say you need this book. You can have it in your laptop or you can have it in hard copy. I don't know if it's available, but I personally have it in soft copy. So this will help you to know what to do with a particular condition that you're suffering from. Well, DMSO on the eyes, darkness to light, eye drops. So you have been able to see that actually it can reduce that inflammation that can lead into blindness. If you use, for example, a 50%. The protocol, of course, I have just put this here. If you want it, I can, of course, give it to you later. But this is basically just showing that sometimes some of these conditions, you can use DMSO coupled with other remedies. And those are the remedies I've put there, but I'll not go to them because they are not related to DMSO. But for anyone who needs them, you can be able to see that if you're dealing with glaucoma, for example, there are a lot of other things that you need to do alongside the use of DMSO. All right. Digestive problems and DMSO. And this is very interesting. And why? Because we talked about hydrochloric acid, that when the methyl groups go down, the one of the things that probably will be imbalanced is the hydrochloric acid or the stomach acid. And digestive disorders of various types can be very difficult to treat and even more difficult to diagnose. A good example involved an 8-year-old girl in Los Angeles who vomited daily after breakfast. She was a recent migrant to the United States and was staying with her aunt. She was taken to a doctor who said that the girl was suffering from internal bleeding. He referred the girl to a specialist who found out that she had partial blockage caused by a very bad fungus infection. And I have used DMSO for an external fungal infection on my brother, my younger brother. He had an incurable fungal infection on his neck. And we actually used DMSO to effectively eliminate it. All these ointments that we use for anti-fungus or whatever on the skin, they have sulfur in it. Sulfur is the main component. But I'll tell you something, that there is nothing as powerful as sulfur from DMSO, garlic, all these things. So the specialists thought that the affected part of the intestinal tract would probably have to be removed by surgery. And so they said this will have to be removed by surgery because there was a serious fungal infection, but that was not the case. As a last result, before surgery, it was decided to try DMSO. She was given half a teaspoon full of DMSO in an ounce of aloe vera diluted with 2 ounces of water after breakfast and dinner. The vomiting stopped after 3 days. The treatment was discontinued. A week later, the symptoms returned. After this, the treatment was resumed and continued for 2 weeks. And then what happened? Disappeared and never returned. So, cure of internal fungal infection using DMSO, boosting the levels of hydrochloric acid in the body, DMSO, hearing problems and DMSO. I mean, we have used onion drops and we have used garlic oil to treat ear infections as very powerful antibiotics. What is in these things that makes them so effective for ear, ringing ears, wheezing ears, and so on, that makes onion effective and that makes garlic oil effective for ear infection? The sulfur. Ear problems affect a large part of population. Many small children have ear infection nearly every year. This is often treated by puncturing the eardrum to release pus and relieve pressure. This operation is very painful. In many cases, DMSO in combination with anesthetics make it possible to puncture the eardrum without normal severe pain. In other cases, the patients with mild or middle or inner ear infection may be treated with DMSO combined with antibiotics without puncturing the eardrums. And an external application of just a drop or a smear around the ear region of DMSO will still have an effect in relieving the pain that comes from ear pains. One family in Los Angeles had 6 children, all who had ear infection as babies and young children. Often, though the weather was never really cold, these children would get their ear infections in the winter. One winter, the 3 youngest children, aged 7, 8, and 9, all had their ear infection. They complained of pain and also had some hearing problems. The time the children were treated with DMSO, an eyedropper was used in place, 2 drops of 50% DMSO in each ear. 90% of the solution was also applied to the head and neck area near the ear. There was immediate relief. The mother of the children was advised to continue the treatment at home with drops of DMSO in the ear twice a day, and to have the drops available to treat the ear of her children at the first sign of trouble. The children remained infection-free from the rest of the winter. So it's powerful also for infection of the ear. I'll just mention these ones in passing. DMSO can be used for tinnitus, emergency medicine and DMSO, eye problems, fibromyalgia, fungus infection, hair and scalp problems, application. When your hair, you're losing your hair, it's dropping off and all these things. Application of DMSO helps with this. Headaches and migraines. It has been found that if it's used in the earliest stage, DMSO eliminates unnecessary migraines. Used in the early stages, the effect is much better and faster for relief of headaches and migraines. We can talk about infections and we can talk about inflammations. Inflammations, talk about arthritic inflammations, talk about problems on the spinal cord. This is an amazing treatment. Other uses for DMSO without side effect, lupus. You all know how people suffering outside here with lupus, trying every kind of medication and it's not working. Detoxification, very important. Colon detoxification and general body detoxification combined with the use of DMSO, very good results for lupus. Mental illness and DMSO. DMSO can be able to penetrate and reach the spine. It's been found that the side effects of radiation and chemotherapy is highly reduced when people actually combine it with the use of DMSO and fasting. It's been found, and there are a lot of testimonies that those who fasted and had their chemo actually experienced almost no loss of air. And it's also been found that those who fasted alongside using DMSO during this conventional treatment actually had reduced or zero side effects of these procedures. And why? For example, the chemotherapy does not only target the cancer cell, but it also targets the healthy cells. DMSO on the other side ensures the replication of good cells from the very point, finer details of the cell, DNA. It replicates and makes new that which would otherwise not have replicated that fast. And so that's why I'm saying that it's been found that it's very beneficial for cases where they expose you to radiations. And even for those people who are going through just general checkups, I mean, the CT scan, the MRIs, all these machines that use radiation, because sometimes we are forced to go into these rooms and do these things. It's important that reminds me of something that I have done before with some patients, is to put them on a lot of, before we used to put our patients on a lot of, what do you call this? Broccoli. And you know what? Broccoli is just another one that is loaded with a lot of sulfur. It's a very good vegetable that is very important to be taken before radiation, before MRIs, before all these things. And so DMSO comes in handy for people who are going through these procedures to lower the side effects. So it's very good for radiation. And I just want to wrap up this by sharing those final points. DMSO is also good for respiratory problems and body tissues that are ailing and weakening and joints that are painful there's this effective treatment for scleroderma, an ailment of a known cause which calcifies the body tissues and can attack various organs, is a disease where DMSO is the only effective treatment that is known. Sounds to me like, I don't know if you suffer from dengue fever, but if you suffered from dengue fever in Kenya, the doctors will tell you, go and take papaya leaves. I mean, that's all they'll tell you. That's all the nurse will tell you. That's all the clinical officer will tell you. That's all your doctor will tell you. Go take papaya leaf. And they know it's the only effective cure for dengue fever. They know that for scleroderma, which is an ailment that comes as a result of calcification of body tissues and can go to any of the organs, DMSO is the only effective treatment. This condition affects over twice as many women as men, and most often attacks those between 25 and 40 years of age. And we are not immune, except one, by the grace of God and His love and His mercy, and also through following His laws of health. And sometimes we can do all we can to follow the right laws of health, but Satan still lives, and we are living in a sinful world and we attack. And that grace of God directs us to the solutions that we need to follow through His grace to find that help. Well, scleroderma is a connective tissue disease causing fibrosis and commonly affects the skin and internal organs such as the GI tract, lungs, and kidney and heart. Another good use of DMSO, shingles and herpes, spinal cord injuries, skin problems. I've mentioned about over about 2 years. My younger brother was suffering from a fungal infection that covered. I mean, he had used all that he could get from the hospital. It wasn't going. And when he came to visit us, we gave him DMSO. He applied DMSO. It was gone. Just a few days, it was gone. He never experienced it again. Skin problems, DMSO is very good. Stroke, because of the sulfur. Why we use garlic that thins the blood. DMSO should probably be used in the treatment of all stroke patients. DMSO has a number of properties that make it valuable in treating any problem involving the brain. One very important property of DMSO is the ability to cross the blood-brain barriers. You'll use many herbs, but the ability of herbs and medication to cross the blood-brain barrier is not going to be easy. But DMSO will cross the blood-brain barrier. It's one of the few products that crosses the protective barrier. And so, please find how to use these things in that book. I insist, find how to use them in the protocols. And we can always share these books for those of us who might not be able to have it. The blood-brain barrier serves as a protective mechanism that exists between the circulating blood and the brain. It protects the brain from substances which are toxic to brain tissue. There is normally an accumulation of water in the brain as a result of stroke. And listen, this is why when you're using DMSO, your hand should be clean, no soap. Don't wash DMSO with soap. Don't wash your hands with soap or any of these things. It should just be cleaned with clean water so that there is nothing toxic that is carried across the skin, which might harm you. And so you want to be very careful with the use of DMSO and not put in places where children can easily mess up with DMSO, because it's something that is good, but can also be misused and bring much danger and harm to the family. I've talked about toothache and gum disease, yeah, and amazing. DMSO has proven to be one of the most important products for relief of human suffering. It's useful either by itself or in combination with other products in the treatment of nearly every ailment that one may suffer. It has also been proven to be extremely safe. Despite the fact that DMSO has been used by millions of people, there have been no documented cases of death or extreme toxic reactions to DMSO. Every doctor should become knowledgeable about DMSO. Its use can be incorporated into any type of medical practice. Often the doctor does not know what is wrong with the patient. And this is exactly what I wanted to share with us today. Among the other use of DMSO is when we use it in combination with other herbs for cancer cases. And you want to make a very strong immune boosting herb. I can see Brother Teji, his hand is up. I'll bring this up and then you control. When you use very strong immune boosting herbs, chaparral, golden seal, and all these things, sometimes it is proper that you put a little DMSO in it, and this will help to improve the ability of that DMSO, or rather, the ability, I mean, it will act as a carrier of the beneficial effects of those particular herbs, using them in juices. The beneficial effects of those herbs or juices are easily carried to the tissues that need them, especially for extreme cases. So I believe, but when you are taking them internally, you need the pharma grade, 99.9598% for internal use. But normally, in many cases, it's best, especially when you're beginning to test it, to mix it in either glass of water, glass of juice, or a glass of herb when you're taking it, not just taking it raw and dry. When you're applying it outside for different conditions, you need from 50%, some 15%, depending on the condition that you are dealing with, because it burns the skin. So be sure about what you're using and read as much as you want to know about the condition that you are dealing with, and it will be of a great blessing. I can see that, Teji, your hand is up, and I think that you are free to share. And then Sister Yolanda, Sister Eva, I can see their hands there, but all right.
Yes. So generally, when you use the DMSO, you should mix it so it with water, clean water, so it's 50%. So that's so that was just what to reaffirm that.
What I want to say is, when you mix it to the water, if it was 99.95%, what you're basically doing is you are reducing its aggressiveness on your system, so that you can easily accommodate it. You are not actually making it 50% or 25%. That's a chemical language, and that has to be tested. But you are reducing its aggressiveness. But they are already DMSO, which is made with the right percentage, right numerical figures, 15%, 50%, and all this percent, topical use, and so on. So you need, but when you are taking it inside, and that's what I was saying, you need a pharma grade, 99.98% pure DMSO. But now, because it might be aggressive on you, you want to actually take it in clean water, distilled water if you can, or you can want to probably use a juice, or a herbal drink. Any of those is fine.
I see I have a bottle of DMSO. I never used it, but I'm looking at it. It has says it's 99.9%. Is that the? But also another thing. But the container is actually a plastic. So is it? Does that mean that I cannot use it, or should it be a glass container?
The best is a glass container, because it's of its ability to carry anything toxic across the barrier, ability to extract. And most of what I see they are selling, especially the ones that I've got from Amazon, they are doing them in plastic. But I also have dealers that do them in black or dark glass containers.
Okay.
And I have them. And those to me are more. And I think it's also because some of them make it for laboratory use rather than for medical use. Yeah. Sister Eva, I am seeing the hand of Sister Yolanda is up, so would you give her time to share?
There I go. Full speed ahead. Okay, I just wanted to two things. So I got my DMSO. This is the one that I bought in California in a glass bottle, dark, and it says 99.9% pure DMSO, and it's only 4 ounces. I feel like I paid $80. But anyway, at the bottom it says 70% DMSO, 30% distilled water. So the concentration, they claim is 99.9% pure, but it is diluted. So that's the strength as a result of that dilution.
Oh yeah, and that's what I was talking about. The dilution does not reduce the percentage purity. The percentage purity of the DMSO used there is 99.90 or 95 or 99%. But now it's diluted with distilled water. So there is only 70% of that. And then the other percentage is made up of the distilled water. So that is still fine. But what if it's still strong for you? It can be strong for other people when you use it. Then you can still dilute it to what can be accommodated by your body. And especially if you are using it just for your normal therapy. When you're using it for your normal therapy, just to keep your method groups and immunity boosted, then you don't have to start from high doses. There are people who start from maybe just a half a teaspoon and a few drops into the water, and then they drink it. The percentage, or rather, the percentage purity will not be reduced. It's still 99.9% pure, but then it's a bit diluted. So when it's diluted, then it will not shock the body. It will not shock the body. And that is what is important to note.
So the strength is where it can cause irritation. Because I know I've experienced that. I had a back injury, and through medical missionary and understanding some of the remedies that God's given us, I was introduced to DMSO. Now I've seen it used in veterinary medicine, but it was just for horses, race horses, and their sprains and various injuries. But I have come to use it for myself and for the animals that I have. And man, it is miraculous. And what I've come to see is when you combine it with the oil, if you're using it topically, it will buffer so that the skin doesn't end up becoming irritated with repeated applications. And so I've done that. And so here I have DMSO gel, and I bought it, and I wasn't sure the ingredients to make it a gel. And then the fact that it's in plastic, I wasn't really happy either, but I thought, well, let me go ahead and get it because it's better to have more in stock than none at all. And then I had this DMSO liquid, and they all claim to be 99% pure. But with that plastic, it's like a solvent. It's going to break this down. So I don't know that I would want to have this stored for a long-term period of time. I would think I would want it in glass. So I would like to know where you get your glass ones from. And then the last thing I want to say, are you familiar with MSM? It's a sulfide. It says methyl sulfonamethane. And so it's supposed to help joints. I was just wondering, is this any kind of relation to DMSO with the sulfur group? Or do you know?
Well, to start with your question on the gel, the gels are made from not really from DMSO, but from other herbal products that have been found to be effective. They are gels that have comfrey, There are gels that have rose hip. There are gels that have different as the main component, and then they mix it with DMSO so that the DMSO can be a carrier of those good components from rosehip or from comfrey. Those are very good for your bones and for your joints. Like rosehip, if you get that rosehip DMSO and you apply it for anyone with arthritis, then the pains disappear so fast. The same with the comfrey. So that's what happens. And yes, I think the precaution that needs to be taken is when you're buying these items that are in plastic, then you don't need to stay for long because of the ability to dissolve those elements and take them into the solvent, because it's a solvent, then send them into your body. So I think that's a precaution that needs to be taken. The glass bottles, personally, I buy them locally here because they pack in glass, but I have to buy through a friend who is a medical missionary but has an account with them, because you cannot buy if you don't have some papers here. So I buy is able to help us to acquire those documents. I mean, rather the ones which are in glass, dark glasses. Yes, I think, Sister Eva, we've talked about, I don't know if it's in this forum, but there have been a lot of dealing with MSM. I don't know whether it was here or where. Yeah, and this is just another solvent which is equally good for the healing of the tissues and equally has the sulfur component in it and can be used. I think we've also dealt with, there are two other solvents that we have dealt with here that are of greater help to the body. But I think those videos could be attached so that you can be able to go through the whole of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Zaddoch. Wow, you know, when I buy, I don't buy one, so I probably have 10 bottles, but they're in plastic. So now I don't know what to do with them. So, but
maybe you could just can't you just repackage them maybe, and that would prevent the further breakdown of the plastic?
Right. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. And then I have learned, Brother Zaddoch, that when you apply this gel, you should actually put some olive oil first on the skin before you take the gel on with the herbs. Otherwise, it can be too strong for the skin.
Yeah, you're right. It buffers so that it does not burn onto the screen or scald the skin. It's important to use the oils for anything that burns the skin so that you do not bruise or scale off your skin. It's important and it's helpful.
It was very interesting with this lady who had pain in her neck for 2 years, but it's very rare, I think, to get a brush. You probably should have an organic brush, you know, to use. So, I mean, it's so many things to think about. Can you use a brush even if it's not organic?
Well, the thing there, as we said, the best would be to use a cotton, natural cotton, pure cotton in the application. But if you use any of these things, you can, if you use any of these things, you have to understand that the contact time is sufficient for it. It matters a lot, because if it's a long contact time, it will actually take the chemicals in this particular brush and carry them over to you. So as much as possible, DMSO should be in glasses. DMSO should be used with cotton or anything that is natural, that would not bring any harm to you even if you ate it. I mean, that's how I reason, because if it goes to the blood, then it should be something that you probably can be able to eat. And so that's how I look at it. It should be very safe for you to be able to eat it. And remember, this is why we need to understand that DMSO is a two-edged sword. And a two-edged sword in the sense that if it carries the poison or toxicity across the blood barrier, when you eat food and food has any poison or toxicity, the body has systems that check on that toxicity, including the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which is a fast defense. And then we have the liver and we have all these things. But you see now with DMSO, it bypasses all this and goes to the blood straight. And that is why you don't want to have any toxicity, even to the least. Because the other things, if I took them and they were toxic, my body has already defense because it goes through the normal channel. It goes to the stomach and then it will find its way to the liver before it goes to the body. But now when it comes to the DMSO, it carries it straight into the bloodstream. And that's why you need to be extremely careful.
I have seen, now I don't remember his name, you know who he is. He runs a health center and he buys 5 liters of DMSO. He uses it for brain cancer and so on. But that's plastic too. You know?
Oh, yeah. The 5 liters, or what I call a gallon, I've actually bought it. And that's what, I don't know, that's the container I could find. I mean, we could not find anything packed in glass that big. And that was the cheapest we could find when we first shipped it from the US. And what I would say is repackage it. Just repackage it. And if you can't repackage it and you are running a sanitarium, probably you're going to use it as fast as possible. Because as it continues staying, it continues to take in the toxicity. So I think if that is what is available that you have around you, then you can repackage it. If you don't have a lot of patients that can consume, if you're running a sanitarium, you're probably going to use that in 2 days or 3 days of that 5 liters if you're having a lot of cases that are coming in. But if I'm using it in my house, I mean, DMSO can stay there for a year. So you'd imagine what's happening for a year. It's just staying there in plastic. Yeah.
So how are you applying it on the brain tumor? Why are you using it on the brain tumor?
Well, what happens is it needs to be taken internally when you're using when you're dealing with brain tumors, and also needs to be applied on the head. And how it's applied on the head is you can mix it with actually herbs that are helpful to the brain. And then after you've done that, you just apply it on the areas or regions of the air after thoroughly cleaning the air, and then allow it there to stay for about, it does go so fast. So 2 to 5 minutes is sufficiently enough. You can wash off with clean water and you're safe to go. When you're taking it internally, you're going to take it either with the juices, but most preferably with the herbs that you want to target the tumor that you are dealing with. And so, and you take it with these herbs in a glass of water, and you have a teaspoon to begin with, and you can build 2 teaspoons depending on what you can be able to contain. It becomes very helpful in reducing the pain. But the one which is applied topically works amazingly, because then you're applying it right where you're feeling the problem to be coming from. So the topical application of DMSO is very important. It's very important, especially where you can actually locate the source of the pain.
So just to get this right, can you use can you take it just from the bottle if you have pain on your knee or wherever? Can it be used, or do you have to dilute it there too, just to get that straight?
Well, what happens is the higher the concentration, or rather the higher the percentage purity, the more aggressive it is on a bare skin. If you don't have anything that, mostly the 15% or the 50% are made for topical application for pain purposes. Now, what you'll do is just apply the oil. Once you've applied the oil, then you will, of course, take your cotton wool and dip it in your DMSO and just apply it, even if it is 99.9%, but you've already applied the oil, so it will not burn directly. But the oil must be a pure oil, pure cold pressed oil, so that there is no harm, because it will carry elements of that pure cold pressed oil equally to your body. But there is no harm at all for cold press. Yeah.
I got 3 questions.
Okay, come on.
Okay, so 1, where do we get the book that you referenced in the slides? 2, there was a mention of it affecting a couple of viruses. I can't remember the names. I want to understand, how does that treat and cure those viruses? And number 3, when you apply it to your eye, would you want to use a oil so that, you know, I have a glass dropper in a glass bottle, but would I want to combine it with maybe honey or some other thing that I want it to carry directly to the eye, or is it just straight DMSO and it won't like burn my eyeball?
Well, the first question is on the books. I think they're available online, but if that's not the case, we can share, because I already have them with Sister Eva on email, and then she can be able to email us. That's on the first question. On the viruses. Now, viruses, those who are in the medical field agree with me that they almost don't know what cures or eradicates viruses. And there is a lot of theory behind this. But the thing is this: when people have viruses, what people work on is the immunity. Quote unquote, when you have virus, what they call virus, then what they expect you to work on is on your immunity.
Right.
And what DMSO works on is your immunity. And that is what we started from, methyl groups, and then we talked about the immunity. So if we can be able to help you build your immunity, and sulfur is very important for immunity.
Right.
Methyl groups are also very important for immunity. So if it builds a powerful immunity, then you can beat anything that is called a virus.
Yes.
And that's what happens when you are probably suffering from a flu. What you need is your immunity to be right. I mean, you don't need to stop the flu. What you need is just to jumpstart your immune system. The immune system will be able to handle it. But very few doctors will be able to come and tell you this.
Right.
That this is what you need, because antibiotics will not cure. Will not cure your flu.
It clearly says on the bottle, not for human use. So a doctor's never going to advocate for DMSO anyway.
Sure, they're not going to do that. I don't know, but I forgot the third question. On the eye.
Yes.
On the eye, yes, you can use lemon, you can use pure castor oil, you can use honey. But now again the concentration is very important, because the eye is a very sensitive cell. So you want to be able to use something that you have specifically made from the eye. How is that possible? Begin by diluting that, so that you begin from maybe 15% and put this 15% so that you have 15% DMSO and the other 75 is distilled water. And this is what you have in your dropper. And you can be able to build from that, because the eye tissues are very sensitive and you don't want to put something that will extremely burn. Now you build from there, but you know also that anything that starts the eye, and if you put, for example, lemon burns, I mean, you feel the stinging, even honey. But then when it does that, what happens is it triggers the glands of the eye, the tear glands, produce tears, clean the eye, remove the clogs and the plaques. And that's how actually your eye vision becomes better. So begin from something that is low and move to a more complex concentration.
Okay.
But there you can also use just 1 drop of lemon in the eye, and that will do the same. And you can actually use castor oil on the top of your eye. So maybe that's somehow easier, because then you can use pure castor oil.
Yeah, I've used lemon in my eyes and honey at night. It's lemon in the morning, honey at night. And I'm still seeing floaties, and I still see, I think it's cataracts. You know how around your iris it'll be this gray, and then it creeps and creeps until it's like a whole opaque looking lens. So I'm sure it's cataracts, but I'm not trying to go to the doctor and have cataract surgery, which is their answer to cataracts. You remove the lens, put in this artificial one. So I just wanted to see if DMSO, because I've seen it do some amazing things with my animals where there were obstructions. My one dog, she was blocked literally and couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't poop. And so, you know, normally you would have to have surgery for this foreign body and take it out because of the intussusception that happens, and then the intestines die. And she was in a bad way, couldn't go. And I prayed. And I tell you, God impressed me with the DMSO. I was doing charcoal too, and that couldn't get through. Everything was just held up right there. And then I palpated, I could feel it, the blockage was there. And then it was like, Lord, what do I do? I can't afford the vet. And so there was a few things that the Lord impressed me to try, like an enema was one. And that is not an easy thing to do by yourself. But the Lord helped me, and he was like, I had Benadryl, which is diphenhydramine, and I gave her quite a bit because it's pretty safe. And so trying to get her all drowsy, and then I had a muzzle on her, and I had her, and I'm trying to do this fleet enema, and she came back to life when she felt that. So it was like, Lord, I can't do this by myself. And so, oh no, we lost him. But it was like, I was about to cry. And I was like, Lord, this takes 2 people. I can't do this. And then the Lord impressed me, wrap her up like a bean burrito. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I get this towel and I bundle her up real tight like you would a baby when you do that little swaddling thing. And then I had her, and I had one hand holding on to her tail and guiding the enema tube, and it went in, and I was able to squeeze, and I could feel the volume going out. And I was like, praise the Lord. So it came out of the bottle, and then she got out of my arms, and poop went everywhere. But it did not clear the blockage. It was not gone. She just started having this pudding leakage, and that was even worse. And so I had to get these pull-ups for babies, like toddlers, and cut a hole for her tail. And so she's wearing this thing while this pudding is oozing out, but the blockage did not go. It was not until the Lord impressed me, DMSO and castor oil 50-50. And so it wasn't a lot that I needed. It was probably, I think I didn't use a syringe, I used a glass dropper, but I had it in the equivalent of a 3cc syringe, but not the whole syringe. So probably 2 mLs of this 50-50. And when I gave her that, and I prayed over it first, and then that evening she went to go, and previously she had been straining and nothing would come out, straining, nothing would come out. And this had gone on for like a week. And so then on that same day, that morning, I gave her the DMSO and the castor oil. That evening, when she let me know she had to go to the bathroom, we went outside. She strained, and she let out the biggest, longest poop I have ever seen. I took a picture, and it was all this charcoal in the front of it. But the point was, God moved that blockage, and it was the DMSO. I know it. And it dissolved because my dog had started eating rocks like they were candy. And I think she was minerally deficient for something, because she just was gobbling them up. I couldn't stop her. And these rocks don't break down, they don't pass. So that was where the blockage came from. But the DMSO was able to break it down. I know that's what did it. But amen.
Thank you for sharing. Wow, yeah.
Mute like that. Okay, now you can see me and hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. I got this bottle from a friend. He has made it for me, and it says DMSO 70%. It's a liquid, and it's on a glass bottle with what do you call this? Roll-on. I have used it on my shingles or when I have some problems with my skin, but I think it's it makes me scratch a lot. So I haven't used it. I don't know how to use it really. And now I have a friend who is going to take out extracted a tooth tomorrow. And I wonder if DMSO can be used for when it's going to the dentist, because now we have oregano oil, we have frankincense, and we have a clove. So he's going to put on before he's going to the dentist. And then I wonder, can the DMSO be used for this treatment just to make it works better? Did you understand my question?
Yeah, it's a good pain reliever. I know that. So, and he was saying, I believe in his presentation, that it would help with the healing of whatever procedures that are being done when it's applied. I don't know if it's simultaneously or before. He would have to speak to that.
Yeah, because this is to put outside. But I think it's 70%. I think it could be too strong. And can it be used inside, or could we put it on the skin and would still work?
Right.
Together
I think
with
he said
these essential oils.
Yeah, it'll definitely carry those other oils with it to the tissue. So that's the great thing about it. Yeah, it goes right into bloodstream, tissues, organs. That's why cancers don't have a chance with it. It just goes right straight to them and breaks them down. But hopefully he can. I think he said 50% was the oral concentration.
I have got a bottle of DMSO from a friend, and it's 70%. And it's like this with a roll-on. I can roll it on the skin. But for me, it scratches. I have a very sensitive skin. But my question is now, because my friend is going to take a tooth tomorrow, take it out. It's vad heter jackstad? Mandible. Yeah. Do you call it mandible? A quite big tooth. And now we have got some, because he wanted to avoid ordinary lidocaine. Do you know that when you are going to
lidocaine?
Yeah, lidocaine. So you don't want to have that. So he wants to try to use clove, frankincense, and oregano to try to bedöva. Vad betyder bedöva, Eva?
Numb. I think to numb the area.
Numb the area. Yeah.
Use anesthetics.
As an anesthetics. So he wanted to try the natural way to try to take the pain. And then my question was if he can use DMSO on top of the skin, will it take it deeper in so it would work better?
Yeah, one is for what you are using, if it's sensitive to your skin, please get an oil that you take into your body. That's probably a cold pressed oil. And after you've cleaned your skin, then you can use it with DMSO. Alternatively, you just need to make a good cold pressed oil in a bottle and put a few drops of DMSO in it, shake it very well, and apply that oil on your body. And that will reduce the aggressiveness of that oil of DMSO on your skin. I mean, DMSO would burn my son. I can use it, but my son is not able to contain it. And so I have to apply something. Our skins are not the same in terms of how they react. And that's why I say that it's better sometimes to use a buffer layer before you apply it, or even use a lower concentration on the teeth. Yes, you can use the DMSO. It will aid and even improve, and probably it's much stronger than the oils in terms of helping with the pain, and also with checking on infection, so that there are no infections on the area. I know oregano oil is good to ensure that there are no infections and so on, bacterial infections. But when used together with DMSO, you'll even get greater results in terms of avoiding infections in the area. DMSO, you can apply it topically, but you can also apply it directly to the area, or to the gum or to the teeth area. Now, if you have 70%, as you said,
Yeah.
sometimes it might be a bit aggressive depending on how you handle it. And again, that comes with if you have clove also burns when you use it. It have a little bit of burning sensation, especially very pure clove, which you have here, but very effective. The purer it is, the more effective it is for toothaches. And that's because people with toothache, they don't care the burn, because I don't know, but I have seen my wife going through an experience of tooth pain, and she says she can do just anything to eliminate the pain. So the burning sensation wouldn't be much of anything if it can be able to relieve the pain. So unless you cannot contain it for that time, then you can bring it down by diluting it. Or you can use a cotton, and the cotton only goes straight to the teeth. So it goes through the teeth inside rather than through the gum. So the cotton is kept on the teeth and not on the gum, just straight there. If it has you have a dental caries sort of problem, then you can put it on the teeth. Then on the teeth, it will not have that burning sensation, but it will go inside. If it goes inside, then that bruising sensation will not be felt. That burning sensation will not be felt. It's like if you have drunk it. But if you put it on the gums, then it will sort of inflame the gums because of the burning sensation, numb the gum area. And sometimes that becomes a little nasty to some people, depending on the results you have. So yes, you can apply it topically just to increase and I don't think that dosage is any bad. You can apply it topically, you can put it on the caries if they wanted to remove it because of the caries, I mean the hole on the tooth, and you can choose in the teeth a lower concentration, and that will be good enough. You can equally mix the oils together. You have oregano oil if you have it in oil form, because I've seen in the US probably they have the capsules, the oil in capsulated form. If you have it in a bottle, you can still mix all that together with DMSO and just take it with your clean hand and put it there. Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Is that the satisfying?
It is very satisfying, and confirming what I believe.
Yeah. Do you want to say something to them?
Thank you so much for your great advice and confirming what I believe is right. Thank you so much.
Great. God bless you, brother.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
So, is it a benefit to put it in the enema?
Yeah, when diluted, you can. When diluted, because this is the thing. Garlic is used for enemas, and garlic is one of the emergencies for high blood pressure. An emergency for high blood pressure is inserting garlic that is somehow boiled or bruised through the anal tract. And how it works is through the sulfur, and it just lowers the blood pressure. But now the thing is, the colon is very sensitive, and you want it diluted, but the sulfur will definitely help to lower the pressure. So yes, you can use it in the enema, but you are just going to have a drop, or even if you had a teaspoon into the water, there will be no effect. You'll only feel the smell.
Okay, thank you. Wow, it's much to absorb. So did you say that you have this a book about DSMO in a PDF, which you can send to me? Is that what you were saying?
Or I can make them into, the book is in PDF, so you can be able to get the book. There are a couple number of books that can be, and they're easy to read. They don't have technical language, the language that a layman can be able to understand, because they're written for just everybody.
Yeah, so you don't have that stuff in a PDF form?
They're there. I mean, I have them. You don't have to download them. If you want me to send them to you,
Yeah.
then you could be able to.
Will
But
they
probably
cost money? How much
seeing
does it
that.
cost?
So any more questions?
I just wonder, what is this product made from? Made of?
DMSO.
Yeah,
A tree.
it's from a
It's
tree.
not, oh yeah, it's coming from the tree. That's from tree processors, whether they are processing trees wherever they are. Could be that's why they come from that side more than this side, because there's heavy tree processing that side of the world than this side. So if you look at the pine, for example, the pine processing, you will be able to extract that liquid, and that is in the process where they actually dry the tree and remove that element from the tree. What they remove from the tree, which has the sulfur oxide, is what is called the DMSO, the dimethyl sulfur oxide. So it's a purely natural product here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Very informative. Indeed.
I'm also thinking about Brother Zaddoch. Sister Yolanda was talking about MSM, and on my box it's it says like me, for instance, I weigh 50 kilos, and I should have 1 big teaspoon every day. So it actually says on the box how much we should take every day, and it's good to wait half an hour after taking that to take vitamin C. I don't know why we should wait half an hour. Do you know?
I think it's because vitamin C is a bit acidic. It's ascorbic acid, yes. So I think the whole concept relies on activation. And that's why you should wait a little bit before you take vitamin C. But once it's there, then the vitamin C then will activate it. And I remember that chart that you're talking about that gives you the protocol of how to use MSM, which you can equally share with her if she may be interested on how to use MSM.
Yeah, people can tell me in mail, and then I can send it to them.
I really appreciate all the information. Thank you so much. A couple things, but the main one is to ask if you're aware of its benefits with, like, I know you said genes, and that the body is forced to express bad genes rather than good genes with the low sulfur. But what about if a person suffers from Down syndrome? That's like where they're missing a chromosome, and so they're deficient, and they've also linked thyroid to this condition, and so the person is on a lifelong treatment of thyroid medication, and I'm not a fan of that. And so I was thinking there's got to be a natural remedy that God has to provide healing without these drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. So I wondered if you'd ever heard of the DMSO being beneficial to someone with Down syndrome in that their body can produce the genes that they're deficient in.
That's exactly what DMSO should be doing, even though I have not been directly involved with working with DMSO and people who are suffering from Down syndrome. But remember that the medication that are used for the thyroid sometimes end up overburdening and reducing the efficacy of the thyroid and might not be helpful in a long run. The basic thing about DMSO is that it helps to redefine the body from the DNA as the foundation. And that is the good thing about DMSO. And so I think that it will help for most of these things, but we might, of course, need to go through the handbook to be able to know exactly how you should be able to dose yourself to get best results.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Zaddoch. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. It's so much to learn, and I'm so excited. So maybe I can ask you, Sister Yolanda, would you like to have the closing prayer?
Oh, sure. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, too. I just want to kneel. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you so much for this blessing, for this privilege of learning and receiving truth from you and all that you have provided us with your natural healing sources. The tree, Lord, how amazing that it would provide us with a healing remedy and there be no side effects. So, Lord, please continue to bless Sister Ava as she has put this presentation platform together and invited us, and may we share what we've learned and not keep it to ourselves. And Lord, bless Brother Zaddoch and all of us who are here, that we would be your vessels, Lord, and that we would study and we would be like the Bereans and confirm that what you have given us in your word is true, and that we can be a blessing to the nations and to the world who does not know you and who don't know how much you love them and you desire for them to be one with you. So please continue to be with us as we are going in our separate ways. And for some, it's the end of the day. It's for others, like myself, it's the beginning. So please continue to bless us and keep us, Father. And if there's any sin in our hearts and in our minds, Lord God, I ask that you would forgive us and also cleanse us and deliver us, that we would be ready when you come, and then help us to be a blessing to others so that we can help them get ready also. And thank you for the message that you have revealed to us through your servants, many servants, but Sister White especially. Thank you so much for the truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.